Oh, so lovely to see you.
You too.
Yeah. Ah, and I just love how there's always that sense of, um, okay, so what am I going to talk about all week? It's been, what am I going to talk about? Oh, I don't need to know. And then it's like, what am I going to talk about? Oh, I don't need to know. And then it's, oh, that'd be good to speak with Josh. Oh, I don't need to know. Keep dropping it, because it's so nice to come fresh, to
Yeah.
just be with what is, because that's where the magic is, isn't it? That's the that you're unfiltered, you just in the moment, you're just unfolding with what is. So
hmm
yeah. So I guess this is going to go on my channel, so I ought to ask, if anybody doesn't know Josh, do you want to say anything about yourself? You don't mind, you can say, start from wherever you want to start, really.
Hmm. I mean, it's a very dynamic experience. It's hard to pin down.
Mm,
There's a story,
yeah.
but it seems to change kind of bit or quite a bit on its own.
Yeah.
Yeah, Josh is in the moment. Josh is sometimes called Jason.
Okay.
I've had people will forget and call me another name, and it's perfect.
Okay. Yeah. I I remember hearing you say that if somebody comments on your channel, um, that you just say yes
Hmm.
to everything. And I thought, that's interesting. I got it, but I wasn't sure why I got it. And then I got it. Because whatever, this is my interpretation, whatever they're saying is true for them in that
Yeah.
moment. It's their truth. And
hmm
everything is it.
hmm
So that is what we're all talking about, what we're all pointing to, showing
hmm
up as that. So
Yeah.
that's why it's okay. It would
Exactly.
only be popping in the filters of I'm right, you're wrong separation that it wouldn't be.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, now I get it.
It's
So,
difficult to take a stance on anything because it, you know, appearances are so sudden and so quick of what this reality seems to be that as soon as it seems like as soon as we notice anything at all, it's gone. And so if somebody is really disagreeing with what's being said, there's it just doesn't feel natural to reject that at all anymore.
yeah,
There's no one to protect here. I mean, usually disagreements are stemming from a space of lacking anyway. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah. That
uh,
I've got to be right to be to have some sense of self, to have some I'm right, you're wrong. That opposition. That
I'm solid. I'm solid against you.
yeah,
It's like this reference that takes place. Um,
yeah.
I did have someone, I think I said something in an interview with Angela one time,
Awesome. Hmm.
and I said, if this doesn't resonate with you, it's not for you. And I think they took it as if like there was gate.
Uh yeah,
Um, it's really like if you disagree, then it's clearly not for you. Like,
yeah. It's not that you're not, it's too high for you. It's none of that, is it? It's what's, because it's your truth, where you're resonating.
yes,
Because we're all the sovereign being, we're all the authority. There's no hierarchy, because it's
yes.
all one thing. So if that's right for you, then that's right for you.
And it gets tricky too because there's all these layers of perceptual identity that can be,
Yeah.
if you have really hard beliefs, then there's probably a lot of things that don't resonate if you're attempting to live through a belief. But if you're genuinely attempting to address that and
Yeah.
investigate that and it's not resonating, then it's probably not for you. And it doesn't even mean that
Yeah.
you're not ready yet. It doesn't mean
Yeah. Yeah.
you'll
Yeah.
ever. This isn't stages. There's not levels. You don't.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, it feels like a video game, but not in a video game in that way where you're.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got the higher level of whatever. No,
Yeah.
because the one that's playing the game, the one that the character in the game is in the game. It's not true.
Yeah.
It's having an experience that feels very true, but it's not true.
Yeah.
Um,
That's the best part is if it appears to be true, if there's an appearance of something that just this is true, this seems real, that's
yeah.
the best time to look again because we often find that there's certain things we overlook because there's this consistent experience and then there's an expectation and it's strange, but as we start building these expectations and anticipations, it seems like we actually are constricting our ability to perceive anything more and
Mm-hmm.
more and more. And I don't,
Yeah.
it's so subtle that I don't know if we really see that.
Yeah. So a filtering is going in.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it feels like it's all filters. It's all filtering this to have an individual experience. It's
Yeah.
all those conditioned filters. Um, and then it's as if, okay, so you either get this in one big way, which I think you had quite a big dropping away, didn't you? You had quite a, but I
Mm.
mean, everything's different, and we're talking about a story that's a
And
story. It's tricky because it's the story. So we're talking about a story here of it dropping away
mm,
because it's just to make that really clear, because I think people get so invested in their story that that's their identity of the seeking, of the waking up, of the stages. Well, have I got this yet? Have I got that? And it's the whole point is that you're not that, that's got to
mm,
get rid of all these, the
mhm,
dark night of the souls and all of that, the cleaning the ego to drop the ego. It's a tricky one because there seems to be a dance. I know I did a dance prior to realization in the story. I
mhm,
did look at my beliefs,
mm,
and that made the identity less sticky, so that I had that space to go, oh, hang on a minute, and didn't believe that the conditioned mind. Um, but then when
mm.
you see this, you think, well, that was never true anyway. So it's a tricky one that then, even though you've realized this, some people go back and work on a lot of stuff, knowing that that's the story. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but it's just an interesting dance we play, isn't it? And I think it's always so important. And whenever I speak to somebody, I always say, right, we can work on this, but please remember that this isn't who you are. We're
Mm.
cleaning it up, but you're not this. So
Yeah.
let's not invest any more energy. Let's not pump this back up. Let's not pump this up. Actually, it's to pop it really, and to see that it never existed. But it is a strange dance because some people have such a big realization, but then they have quite a lot of investment in cleaning this that they know isn't real. It's a funny dance. I'm not saying any of it is right or wrong.
Yeah,
Maybe that's just the dance.
man, there's a lot of interesting bits and pieces in there. Something that seems really obvious is that the only pattern is that which perceives of a pattern, that which
Mm-hmm.
perceives of a pattern. And it's like this sense of identity, this sense of these constructs of thoughts and beliefs and things like that, even though it doesn't really exist, the most fundamental experience that can be pointed to really is just a paradox. It's this and not this. And so
Mm-hmm.
it seems like we initially address what it seems to be, and that gives us some clues on what it isn't in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because it seems to be part of the path for a lot of people to clean up past story and to, go to therapy, which has a lot of value. And then there are a lot of people that come to have sessions that don't they've reached a threshold with what therapy
Mm-hmm.
seems to provide because it seems to be able to address story, a life story, and then basically replace it with a more comfortable, more consistent, better story in a lot of ways to become more affirmed in some sort of identity. And it's not just that, but that seems to be a big chunk of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they reach a threshold with that and they realize they still feel like something's not quite right.
Yeah.
And they're attempting to maintain this story and they continue going to therapy, but like breakthroughs don't seem to happen because they're not really examining everything. They're
Yeah.
still saying that this is true. And
Yeah.
if we are predicated on having a self, then all experiences that feel personal and seem personal are automatically taken to be true
Mm,
personally. And
mm,
that is, it's really interesting because it seems like what's really happening is the perception of identity, fixation on thoughts that become beliefs that become identity. That seems to be where the patterning is of what seems
mm.
to shift or fall away.
Yeah.
And awakening has nothing to do with anything happening to us. It has to do with the perception of us falling away. In other words, it's already present. It can't
Yeah.
be anything other than this.
Yeah.
And whatever it is that's giving the perception that we aren't that, that's where the examination seems to occur. And
Mm,
so some people have pops, they're in a
mm.
deep suffering space and there seems to be
Yeah.
an existential crisis, and then they pop. And it's
Yeah.
not awakening that's popping, it's identity that's managing the experience that pops, it seems.
Yeah. Yeah.
But even then, we go a little closer, there is no identity, there is no
Yeah.
resistance, there's no perception. It gets
Yeah.
so fundamentally strange.
Yeah. It's just air. When you look,
It's it's
that's
shocking. It's just,
yeah.
but I came up with this really funny, simple metaphor. Like if you have an experiencer or observer, and you have an experience, if the
Mm,
observer is experiencing the experience, there's a reference there. But if we become the
mm.
experience, there's nothing that can be
Oh,
referenced at
there's just
all.
yeah.
There can't be pain. There can't be a self. There cannot be anything. That's
Mm,
emptiness. And really, that's where the pointings seem to want to go.
mm.
Is become the experience, just
Yes.
whatever it is. And that's another thing is
Yeah.
like, say you're in the midst of something, it's like shadow work, and then you see resistance come up. There's a fixation on what was there before resistance seems to have arisen. If you
Mm.
become that resistance, though, then there's nothing else.
There's no
So
two things. Yeah.
it's that immediate. If we can just
Yeah.
just jump
Yeah.
right into what's immediate, and it's obvious because it's
Mm,
happening so loudly that we
mm.
don't go to the thing that once was because it's gone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
become the
At that
resistance,
point. Yeah.
become the frustration, become
Yeah.
the thoughts, even because thoughts have a thematic, there's a thematic energy to thought. If we don't look at the detail, we zoom out a little bit.
Mm.
What do these thoughts like? What is the
What
sensation
is
of
actually, yeah, what's the
and
substance? What's actually there? What's the
it,
truth?
it tends to
Yeah.
be a feeling, it tends to be a
Yeah.
sensation for people,
Yeah.
something that maybe they would initially describe as uncomfortable. Boom, there you go. That's what
Yeah.
the thought is essentially revealing itself.
Creating. Yeah.
That's
But the,
beautiful.
but it seems to be there's a, say something happens, there's a contraction, which is, a normal for this physical body, there's a contraction. And then it's the story that is the narrator of that contraction that creates it into something. So when you speak to
Yeah, yeah,
somebody, they say, well, it's this terrible ball of energy that, and I'm not dissing anybody that's saying any of this. It's good for us to talk about it so people can see it. It's this awful ball of energy from when I was whatever, and it's trapped, and I hold it down my entire, and this whole story, and I call it peeling back the labels, and I get them to peel back bits of
hmm,
the story at a time until they're just left with, okay, so it might be a ball of energy. And I'm like, okay, so is there a boundary? Can you find a boundary? A bit like how we do with the body. And they're like, shit, no, I can't find anything. And then it's just all bits of laughter. And they're like, oh, so this thing that's been keeping them prisoner. I mean, some of the language that we use for our beliefs are just the story is so convincing, so dramatic, and so my mind is keeping me prison, and and I write everything down. This is how I've started doing one-to-one since I last spoke to you, and I'm happy to share how I do it. I don't know, it's similar. It's just how it evolved. Is that I meet somebody, they come with, okay, my mind is driving me mad. It won't let me go. It's got me trapped. I'm like, great, great. And they're looking at me like, I'm like, this is brilliant. And I just write down all these I am, da, 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 all these beliefs that are, I'm like, give me your juicy ones because they're just the best because they're so believing in them. And I did it. So I'm not, it's not like we're finding it funny, but we don't mean it in a, because I don't want them to have the suffering. because I can
Yeah.
see it's a game. It's a story, and let's just look at the story. I get all this out of their head, and then I drop them into their body, so they're
Mhm.
actually at just the surrendered anyway. The identity is not there. They're already effortless. They're just being. I get them down to being. I sit with them in being for long enough, and then I said, let's have a little look at. Should we have another look at those things? We talk about the space and the boundary, and we do all of that lovely, and they're just there. And then I go, right, should we have a little look at what you came with earlier? And they're like, one or two drop, and then they're like, oh, and then we talk some more in this space again, and then I said, should we just have a quick look at anything else, and some of those other things that we wrote down on the paper, and each like bang bang, it's like the dominoes are falling, bang bang bang, and it's just so lovely to see somebody light up,
Mhm.
that conditioning has been seen through, and then it's a matter of right now, how to do this. What's the truth? You've seen it. There's no boundaries. There's no actual body here. When we look in your direct experience right now, what's here? So I keep teaching, keep showing them to go back to what's true for you. What have we seen here today? Just remember that. Remember that. And so when the mind offers you up these tickets to suffer, you can go, hang on a minute, is this true? And then drop into the body, stay
Mhm.
here and look at it and go, okay. I mean, it's not always easy because I remember that place of, the realization, but still the tickets being offered, and still
Mhm.
riding the ghost train. I'm thinking, what the hell am I doing? I picked up the
Mhm.
ticket. So, but it's such a, oh gosh, you know, such a joy, isn't it, to be able to just to be in that space with people, just to,
Oh yeah. And the aspect that's funny is that it's only funny because there's been a realization that it's not real, that
yeah,
it doesn't exist. Um,
yeah,
but that doesn't mean in your direct experience that it's not palpable and intense and painful. And so
yeah.
sometimes it's useful to even look at it on a really objective way. And it seems to be the identity seems to be this really well-designed protection mechanism. And it makes sense. And we could say it comes down
Yeah.
to being associated with what's present, which tends to be what is felt, and being disassociated from that. And
Mm.
let's just say, I don't know, you and I were in a situation where we had to survive. Maybe there was an avalanche or something,
Yeah.
and in that moment, it makes absolute sense to disassociate from the
Survival.
intensity
Yeah.
of these sensations and
Yeah.
move into doing something for biological survival.
Yeah.
It's actually
Yeah.
something the body would naturally do anyway. But
Yeah.
then once the danger is past, to come home and be completely engaged with what we feel. And it seems
Yeah.
like if we look at the mechanisms that show up around these sensations that are happening here, they are resistance, avoidance,
Mhm.
and hesitation. And if we look
Mm.
at the basic biological survival mechanisms, they are fight, which is
Mm.
resistance,
Mm.
flight, which is avoidance,
Mm.
and freeze, which is hesitation. It's
Yeah.
all survival. And so, really, what we're coming into contact with is a fundamental long term and short term stress response system. And
Yeah.
what is telling us that we can't allow ourselves to feel what's being felt, especially when
Mm.
there is no apparent danger? It's almost like an autoimmune disorder that starts attacking healthy parts of the body. It's like
Mhm.
this particular mechanism, if we stay in a state of survival, we're guaranteed to suffer because this does not help us with fundamental well-being. It helps us with
Yeah.
short-term
Yeah.
survival situations.
Survival. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's it. Going to the
Yeah.
body starts to reveal quite a bit more because we've been living in survival perpetually since
Mm.
childhood. And it
Mm.
comes down to whatever we feel when we were really young, it probably felt insurmountable and it felt personal. And
Mhm.
this mechanism says, I'll protect you. And then we just kind of essentially displaced ourselves into the thought space, into the protection mechanism. And
Mm.
we fixated on that since childhood. So, for all rights, we could say this is a rite of passage. You are now starting to blossom into your truest potential, which
Mm.
tends to be what you naturally are anyway.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
nature,
Without
authenticity.
trying, without trying.
What is the most effortless experience we have
Yeah,
as human beings? It's feeling. It's
yeah,
effortless and it's also not controllable. We can't control it.
yeah, yeah.
In America, we have a saying. It's a really country saying. It's you can put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig. And that's what it is to like have overlays of these sensations and labels is it's an attempt to modify, alter, and manipulate the experience that cannot be modified, manipulated, or
Yeah,
altered.
yeah. But
So,
we think we can.
of course, and your pointing of getting into the body, I mean, there it is just the fundamental like breeding ground of all presence is just sensation.
Mm,
And
mm,
I even remind people if it shows up as a emotion at first, fine. Go to it as
mm.
an emotion and keep investigating to see if there are actual pieces of that sensation that you can label or that you can know to be sadness or you can know to be anxiety. And when people are in the midst of that, they discover there's no way to know what this is because it
Yes,
seems
yes.
moving, changing, spontaneously dissipating,
When we look, yeah.
hearing all these particular things,
Mm, mm,
there is that's it. I mean, and really,
mm.
this is how insane it really is. Every ill we face in this external world, all war, murder, all of these things are completely associated with people doing everything they can to avoid feeling sensations that they decided they did not like a
Yeah,
long time ago. This is world peace, just to
yeah,
get to know ourselves in this way
yeah, yeah.
because we stop doing it. We stop needing
Mm.
to react and we stop needing to have these big outward spillovers of pain or suffering because we discover it doesn't exist. It's just a sensation. It has no meaning.
And it's also that, the whole idea of separation. That's why somebody would attack somebody else because they feel separate and vulnerable and at survival mode again. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's why they would, or they do attack or murder somebody because they're pressured into that because of their own survival as it say, if you've got a dictator who's saying you do this or else, you and your family are, so it's that whole idea of separation that just seems to, you know, when we're born, we're just fed the subject object mode. So it just solidifies that whole idea of separation. And then there is this whole spectrum of separation that can be played out, you know, very lightly with some people, do, and then the other end of just murdering others, just because they feel so separate. So,
It's a
no,
fundamentally internal experience of separation. That's
yeah,
what we if we can recognize
yeah,
that, even though it's being reinforced in a conditioning manner, this is still how human beings operate. If even if there were no conditioning, it would likely still happen. Something
because there's a yeah,
whatever that dissonance is, it's probably been inherited. It probably came from some major survival event that happened a long time ago. And we've just kind of passed on the trait to be more likely to lean into survival than to settle into well being. But that doesn't mean it's impossible to settle into well being. That's all.
but all of this is part of a story.
Of course.
Yeah, just to make everybody,
The
because
benefit of a story is there's a transmission there. Don't worry about the
yeah,
detail. The
yeah,
details don't really matter, but see,
yeah.
here's something about story. For some reason, it seems like we allow ourselves to really settle when we're in the midst of a story or listening to a story, and that's where the transmission really seems to occur.
When the surrender, it's always the surrender. It's
Just
always the
just let go of the
yeah,
need to resist, and
yeah,
then we can feel something underneath the content. But here's the
yeah,
best part: all the details of thought, all the details of these stories, it's made up on the spot. It's just made
yeah,
up. Now, if you
yeah.
go to the theme, it seems to be whatever this experience of reality is much more thematic. It doesn't have detail. It's not broken into pieces.
Yeah, it has a flavor, has a overall sort of perfume to it. Overall, yeah, nothing concrete, just yeah, yeah. I get that. I feel that. Yeah. I do think that I could probably talk about cheese, and that's fine. Because all of
Everything.
it is this,
It
isn't it?
is.
So actually, it's all this, um, because there's nothing apart from this. So it's just the resonance. It's just the vibration of what's being said. Just the deliciousness of it all,
Yeah.
of the love and intelligence.
Mhm.
Universal love and intelligence, rather than the identified, limited. That universal. Um,
You know,
and it's
nature,
yeah,
nature, it comes down to this uncaused quality, maybe.
yeah.
Like that's we love nature because when we're in nature, judgments don't tend to arise. We don't tend to build a lot of story. And even if there seems to be some kind of apparent detail, there's still this general theme of just presence in nature.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And
Best
even
teacher,
if
isn't it?
we see birds popping around from branch to branch or whatever seems to be happening, it's we're taking in something in a very like wide way. And
Yeah.
the best way to describe that is innocence. And also it's uncaused. We're not really narrating, well, where did this come from? How did this start? We don't tend to do that.
Yeah.
What's the difference between that kind of innocence and what's uncaused right here? Because none of this is caused. It just is.
Mm.
And the best place seemingly to explore is this, what appears to be a universe inside for most people. It's like an Adyashanti pointing. He says, there's no external world. This is an inside
Mm.
game. And
Mm.
of course, every pointing has to be a contradiction because this is all really paradoxical. But if something in that resonates for your audience, for the people you work with,
Mm.
then then there's intuition, and that's
Mm.
where intuition is basically attention itself, just
Yeah.
attention saying, hey,
Yeah. It's
to me,
that open attention of pure potential
emptiness.
for, yeah. Just talking about it is like, oh gosh.
So this is uncaused. Truly, if you're feeling something in the body, it really is uncaused. This mechanism is designed to help you disassociate. And what's better than a lot of details to keep you disassociated? Because
Yeah.
for
Distracted.
some reason, it's regarding this as dangerous. It's regarding this as potentially lethal.
Wow.
And so it keeps you busy. And really, it's like this: for this thought, have two more. And for those thoughts, have two more. And for those thoughts, have two
Yeah.
more. It
It's
just
a
does
crowd. You get
nonstop.
one and it's dumps everything. Yeah. Yeah.
And you call them tickets. That's perfect. It just keeps printing
Yeah.
tickets.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it's designed to do
Yeah.
because it thinks it's protecting you. But this is the best part. That also is innocence. It
Yeah.
doesn't, it can't
Yeah.
know.
It's not evil. It's not a, it's just what's happening. It's just a mechanism. It's just
Yeah.
the wheel of
It's,
samsara. It's just playing out. You
it's
can
like,
plug in or not.
it's like asking why the woodpecker pecks on the tree. Well, because it's a
Well,
woodpecker, really. So
yeah.
it's just pecking. It,
Well, it knows its dinner's under that, under that thing it's pecking. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's not thinking. I
right.
need to. It's not going right. To-do list this morning. I must peck. How
There's
many
no
times
narrative.
should I peck?
Exactly. Exactly. It's in the midst of doing something, but it probably isn't focused on an outcome.
No, no. It's automatic. Like a baby is just reaching, but a tiny baby is just reaching for food. So it's an automatic. It's not going, oh, actually, I think it's a bit, has anybody got the time?
Yeah, exactly.
Just,
When does the pub close?
oh dear. And then you just think, oh, we don't have to plug into that survival.
Mm,
We have
mm,
an option, we can play
mm,
the game through there, mind, body, and emotions, physical, mental, and emotional.
mm.
We can pump that up. We can pump up that system, plug in and play it. But actually, the other side of the coin, the I mean, there is no other side of the coin because that side of the coin is this, is everything. But it seems as though that, we explain it that way for people to see they have a choice. It's just such a big thing for me. You have a choice.
Mm.
I know it
Mm.
doesn't seem like when you've got all those things falling down and the emotion comes with a thought brings an emotion, brings another thought, da, 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 da.
Mm.
And it's very push and pull, and you're like a washing machine going around. You're just in it with all your thoughts. But there is some point where you get kicked out, isn't there? I think pretty much everybody goes, "Oh my god, my mind." I remember it like God, my mind is so busy today. So there was that idea of a separation,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it's in those moments, to see, okay, okay. And once you've seen how this works, that's what I was trying to explain to people, that we have a choice to plug into this, and it's to really get that we don't have to plug in.
Mm.
The more we look this way, the more we sit with the space, the more you realize what's actually here, this direct experience in this present moment. Don't need to plug in. Everything's happening automatically. And that there comes that fear that people are like, well, how do I operate from there? You already are. You already are just this. You're just plugging into that. No problem with it, but actually it doesn't feel so good. This feels great. So that's sort
Yeah.
of how I, operate. I just do that. I can plug in. You can pick up the tickets and go on the roller coaster, but actually, don't have to.
Yeah, and maybe sometimes you do, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Play
if
lightly. That's what I say. Walk
yeah,
lightly. Pick it up,
it's
but
it's just a tool. You can put it down.
it's an
It's a
experience.
yeah,
It's like it is. It's like let's play. Let's put the virtual reality goggles on, and I
yeah,
mean that's what we're stepping into here. It's like I've got mine, and we're having a Zoom call. We're playing. It's like the tea party. The kids have a, you know. It just feels like that sometimes. I'm just like, wow, look at this. We're playing make believe.
that's a really powerful pointer too. I mean, it really seems to be like play. If if it's not so serious, then
Yeah,
what seems to be the experience? It seems to be play, curiosity,
yeah. Oh,
exploration,
yeah,
but
yeah.
not to know
It's
anything, not to
lightly.
plan.
No, I get. Oh, that's interesting. Everything's interesting, but not without. I've got to work something out. It's just interesting. Oh, it's interesting how that plays out. Oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting. So it's sort of a really light surface level of just being interested, but not got to know anything. Just, that's interesting how that played out today. Hmm.
It's to live in the question without needing an answer.
Mm.
And to live in the question without an answer, we find that the question is the answer. Just the
That was
question itself.
that's like scrambled my brain there. I'll have to watch that back. There was too many layers there. I was like, reject, reject, reject. I'm spinning. It's not sticking. I'll watch that back. Mm,
It's just a there's a lightness, there's this other piece of what seems to be survival, and it's a sense of desperation,
yeah,
which is serious.
yeah, yeah.
And to explore desperation so honestly that we realize that desperation can't exist. It can't actually be there. Resistance can't exist. It can't actually be there. But the only real way to know the taste of that strawberry is to continuously take a bite.
Mm,
And what I
mm,
mean tirelessly investigating, it's no longer a management of I have to investigate, I have to investigate. It's just what's
mm.
happening anyway.
Yeah, you can't manage anything. You can't. it's it's just a dance, and
Management
it's
is
just
just an appearance. Management manages management. That's it. I mean, it's every thought is basically referring to itself. It, there's nothing else to connect to in the
mm,
detail. It's just
mm,
it's a hall of mirrors. It's reflecting back and forth. Every thought is
mm,
pointing to itself. There's nothing it's actually pointing to. because it's
Mm.
all this. But for some reason, the detail is so captivating, and it's probably because we love story, we love
Mm.
detail.
Mm. And
But
it's how we communicate, although there's seems to be different ways of communicating, but it's the common way of communicating.
this physical touch aspect that you and I had spoken of, and just the feeling, the sensing, there's so much there that has probably been bypassed. Might as well get to know it.
Mm. Mm.
Just feel everything. When I was a little kid, I remember I ate some popcorn and I got like a little kernel jammed in between my teeth. It must have been there for a few days until it finally came out. I remember poking through the cheek. Ow, ow, ow. And then after a little bit, it started going, it kind of feels good. But it kind of hurts. But it kind of feels good. But it kind of hurts. It's this poking and prodding of experience to know for sure.
Mm.
And when we,
Instead of just avoiding it,
yeah,
putting a label on it and saying no, no, danger, danger.
the irony
Yeah,
here is we
yeah,
never know anything for sure. But if that's
yeah.
the energy that seems to be showing up, give it a shot.
Mm.
Is there a
Yeah,
center of that sensation? The boundary that you're talking about? Is there a boundary? Is there an edge? Does the
yeah,
sensation stop? Can you land somewhere? Is there something in the middle? Just that by itself, that's full
absolutely.
engagement, full immersion,
Yeah,
full
yeah.
association with presence. It's our best compass, but it's not
It
an in
is.
place.
Oh, definitely. I call it, what do I call it? I can't remember. Your guiding light, the
Hmm.
present moment, the present moment in your direct experience. That's pretty much all we need to go back to. Come back to
Yeah,
this, come back to this. That's what I just say to people, just come back to this over
that's
and
right.
over again.
And you can't think the present moment because once a thought has arisen, that experience is gone. But you can feel it in real
Well,
time.
you are. Well, yeah, for me, I got that. I was always looking to be present, the identity, that there was a person here that thought they needed to be present because I knew that that would help the mind
Mm,
chatter. So there was something for the individual that did help because then you would be present with everything. But then,
mm.
and then in that moment of relaxation, it was, I am the presence. Hang on a minute.
Yeah,
There's nothing apart. Everything's the presence. It's everything.
yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah,
that
and
is just,
if somebody hasn't had
yes,
that
that made me,
realization like clearly,
yeah,
sensations is just the best pointer
yeah, yeah. And
because
that's
we're always
also
feeling.
that idea of the subject object. If they can get that, I don't know how you point to that, but if they can drop that idea of that, I know when I first had that, I was like, well, how come I'm not one with everything? And it was that still looking from subject to object. But when you actually realize, well, I can't see where I'm not. Hang on a minute, I can't see where I'm not. So it's a this movement, then round, and then you're everything. Whereas it was this movement. I don't know whether you use any pointers for that, because that's that same thing of thinking you're looking for something, looking for your true nature. It's got to be somewhere in the next video, and I am it. It's always this
Yeah,
backward movement, and how to get that, how to point to that. I don't know if you have a way of pointing that, either in a vision way or.
yeah. Well, it there's the Buddha story, the Siddhartha story, is on a metaphorical level is pointing to immersion in extremes. So he comes from this extremely wealthy background, was going to inherit the wealthiest kingdom known to man at the time. He leaves all of that and he's starving and burning in the sun as an ascetic. And then somehow that guides him to the base of this Bodhi tree. It's pointing to become everything.
Like you were
So
saying earlier, come into the pain.
just extreme.
Yeah,
If it's here,
immersion.
that's
Okay.
all
Yeah.
there is. The very
Yeah.
first experience that you notice is the only experience is every experience. And I don't mean in part, I mean it is everything. And to be
Mm,
that fully immersed in the experience itself, there is
mm,
nothing else. And if there's nothing else, how could it be anything other than this?
Yeah, I get that. When I look, if I meet, if I'm not, then it's just this again.
And it really works.
It's not a going out though, is it? It's a.
Well, and that's another pointer too, is we can feel what effort feels like. We can feel the exertion of mind. We can
Mm,
feel people can they report feeling an outward pushing of
Yeah.
perception that is like usually within their visual field, where they, as far as they can see, that's, and where that starts to get to disrupted is when we experience something that feels like vast open space, and then all of a sudden it's really
Yeah.
difficult
Hang on. Where's my
to
anchor?
perceive.
Well, you haven't got one.
Yeah.
You only thought you did.
So once you come in contact with that feeling of effort, that feeling of something that
Yeah.
seems to be pushing, become
Yeah.
it. Become the pushing.
Mm. I feel into that. Mm. Yeah. So if somebody's got a push and pull, because I always talk about this push and pull because that's what I had, but like it was waking me up. But actually, if you've got that push and pull, yeah, if you go in it, yeah, I see that.
If you are it and you're
You
moving
are it.
it,
You are
then
it.
where's the
Yeah.
oscillation? Is there an
Where's the
oscillation?
where's the contra where's the okay, I'm gonna try and get this across. Where's the friction? Because you are it, so it's dissolved. Oh, see, I always did that, but I didn't see it as that. I just felt it dissipate. I looked at it, peeled back the label, sat with it, and I was like, well, actually, where is it now? It just dissipated. I always felt it went, shh, but I was obviously meeting it. I hadn't realized. I knew
That's
the words seem right, but until you tie those words with the it's so funny how we only get something when we get it.
mm-hmm.
So you hear things and then it lands and I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, so it's like what you said earlier. I'll go back and watch this now to see when you said there was and it was like there was too many things for me I wasn't getting it, but it doesn't mean I won't get it. It doesn't mean that I have to get it. But sometimes there's something to get there that I'll go back to actually because it's that meeting it, and then it
yeah,
becomes a knowing.
that's it.
Oh, see, I've just learned something.
Well,
Oh,
you already know
that's
this.
it. That's
Of
it.
course, you already know this, but we're just playing a game of words. That's all.
Yeah, yeah. It's just
So
that I've always had this thing where when things land for me, there'll be people can say the same thing lots of times, and you think, okay, I get that, but I'm not sure why I get it. I've not got it. I've not embodied it,
hmm. Hmm.
and then every now and again, one bit it always feels like a piece of the jigsaw drops in, and I'm like, oh, I get it now. It's like it's landed, but actually, if you just meet it anyway, that's interesting. I'm gonna have to do some homework
that
on meeting everything.
sometimes in non-dual spaces or pointers, you'll hear words like spontaneity, immediacy, intimacy. That's
Yeah,
all that is.
intimacy. Yeah, yeah.
It's
Okay.
meeting everything exactly where it is,
Yeah.
exactly how it is, without the
Mm,
secondary need for judgment,
yeah.
manipulation, diversion, whatever.
Without the filters,
And
without the filters.
that's really all it is.
Yeah.
And when people first start on the path, and
Oh,
it seems like it has to be this way, the mind, the thoughts seem adversarial. And then sometimes people have a sense of, I got to move away from these thoughts. I got to avoid them, shut them down, break them down.
push them
And
down.
that's not,
Yeah.
it may be on a detail level that there might be something useful to that, because the details are just, there's nothing in it. It's substance free, but there
Mm,
is something about the thought that is either giving us a sense of resistance or avoidance. That's all there is to meet right there.
mm.
And then this is where it feels untenable for a lot of people, is it becomes painful because they become aware of pain. And then that's the ultimate sense of no. That's the reference. That's the other. That's the separation. If we
Mm.
know the no so completely,
So
we won't know
simple.
what no is.
Sorry, so simple.
The simplicity is frustrating, but it is simple.
Oh my God, it's so simple, that whole thing. I think I've been doing all of that, but I've been just calling it different things because there's only one thing. So if I was looking at you and I thought I was apart from you, it would be to, it would be to that what we were just talking about, that just to joy, to do it this way. We think there's two people and it's just actually,
Yeah.
it's gone. It's just
Mhm.
gone. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's still in dynamic, that it's very paradoxical, but it's like reaching a place of ultimate familiarity, ultimate knowledge or knowing or wisdom, or I don't know how to describe it. It's really
Hmm.
hard to put into words, but it's moving too. It's completely still, but it's moving. But when we're with it, it feels absolutely still, even though it's moving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's almost like it's the the intelligence or the potentiality of
Mm,
it.
yeah.
It's like constant potential. That's what I
Oh,
get. And yeah,
endless.
just
Yeah.
wants to give birth all the time, constantly
That
giving birth.
that is such a beautiful way to describe emptiness because emptiness isn't like when you open up a purse or a box or a bag and look in there and there's doesn't seem to be
There's
anything.
nothing. Yeah, yeah,
Emptiness is the moment before the Big Bang where it was infinite potentiality,
yeah. Oh, I feel that all the time. It's the
which means
when a flower's about to bloom.
that's it. There is no time. This is the Big Bang right here, right
Yeah,
here. We're right
yeah.
at the cusp
Over
of
and over. Yeah.
potential where it's like straddling emptiness in the initial instant of Big Bang is what it's like. And
Mm,
we can't know it. We can't know what it is. It's just
yeah,
this. That's the best we can do.
yeah.
To
Yeah,
know
that
anything
one.
is to
Yeah.
step away from it. That's what's so strange.
Yeah, yeah. Because you're making yourself apart. Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe that whole idea of separation is that's the computer game to be able to experience on all these different, you know, to appear as separate things, experiencing with all its everybody's different perspective. It's the only way it can see itself. The only
Yeah.
way it can experience itself.
And it's really going like this. It's like this expansion contraction at the same
Mm.
time, really. But it can appear as if it now it's expanded, now it's contracted, now it's expanded, now it's contracted.
Oh
But
God, you can
in
just feel
that
into that, can't you?
in that strange, paradoxical motion, there seems to be appearances, expressions of experience.
Yeah,
And if we are them, then we find that it's just emptiness.
yeah.
But
When you
it
look,
doesn't
yeah,
it's not a big deal if you aren't it right now because you are it. If your perception is that you're not it,
you
it's
are it.
just nice reminders that you are. And I know that probably doesn't do anything,
Yeah.
especially for the mind, because you're like, well, but that's not the experience. And
Stop
it's like,
telling me
yes,
that. It's going to want to distance itself from that thought. But I do believe the more somebody hears it,
mm,
it's like you're planting seeds.
yeah.
And I always say,
It's just, I love that metaphor. Even within our into what seems to be an individual experience, it's like a cultivation of a soil, which is kind of like
mm,
the best we
mm,
can do. And then
yeah,
if something grows, it grows.
yeah,
We don't make it
yeah.
grow.
But
We
the thing
just,
is, if it doesn't, it, it's in the story, so it doesn't actually matter because it's all this. But there seems to be mm, that, just waiting for the right words, really. It's because life cares about life. I see it as life. And I was like, why? Okay, so there's this to take suffering away from people because I suffered and I know what suffering feels like. So you want to take that, you want to take it away. Not like I'm taking away your suffering. Not that. You just want to point them for them to uncover their suffering, to flower. So it's as if life wants to cares about life. It's not like, oh, it's just a story, it doesn't really matter. You know, it's not that, well, it's not happening, so there's nobody here, it's all empty. It just doesn't what it's just it's just nothing that that there's no
yeah.
that how life cares for life. It that's where it you dive back in for me. It's life cares about life, so let's go back into life, let's really live it, and let's
Mhm.
really care.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to pointing, um, there can be it can be definitely too direct. And what that really usually looks like is there's nothing's happening, you're not suffering, it doesn't exist, that's it.
Yeah,
That doesn't
yeah,
really land for people. It's too too close.
Yeah.
Even if that may be true, the only that pointing's useless because they can only know that absolutely for themselves.
Yeah.
So there's
I
no
mean,
point in
there
even
might be a
saying that.
tiny window that I remember for me in this parent journey. For me, I did look at that type of pointing very briefly
Mhm.
when I just and it did feel valid, but it was very brief in a very long apparent
You got
journey. It was very
actually,
brief. It was like chop, chop,
yeah,
chop, chop, chop.
yeah, I
Every
see the
time that
point.
thought wanted to grow, chop. Every time something wanted to grow, chop, chop, chop,
Yeah.
chop. And it was like I can't go anywhere with this. I keep trying to throw something at it, and it keeps getting chopped away, chopped away. But it was just a very short period of time.
Actually, that was a complete contradiction what I said too, because of course, for some people, it's a perfect pointing. It's just
Yeah,
that's one of those doesn't resonate for everyone pointings.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But another thing, this one will sound harsh, but this one can be a really direct good pointing is that
mm.
if you feel like you've had ongoing suffering, you haven't suffered enough. In other
Oh,
words,
wow.
you have
Yeah.
not allowed yourself to feel it all.
That's like
That
ripping
I know
somebody's plaster off, isn't it? That's
that one
yeah.
sucks
But
to
I could
hear.
see, yeah, I could see how it would, because it just makes the identity rise up. I mean, all of this is story.
What do you
There's
mean I
obviously,
haven't
yeah,
suffered enough?
yeah, yeah. Get it? Come on, that's really, yeah. Come on.
Get
How much
into
do
it.
you want this? Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Because
Rumi
yeah,
points
because
so
there's been
direct.
a lot of avoidance.
That's all
There's a
it
lot of
is.
suffering,
Suppression.
but there's a lot of
Suppression.
avoidance.
Suppression.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
The experience of suffering is just it's a disassociated experience.
Yeah,
You're not
I'm getting
associating with
when that
it.
button. Sorry, sorry. I'm just getting this thing of so somebody's full up with the suffering. Oh, I hate this suffering. It's awful. That pointing that you just did as if it points when it,
Oh
and
man.
I'm getting this shape. It's like it's a fountain of suffering now. You're
Yeah.
all suffering, and it's
Yeah.
that meeting you become the suffering.
That's right.
To realize there is no suffering. Sorry, I didn't mean to
If
jump
there
in, but I was like,
if
oh,
there's no more no, if there's no more rejection, if there's no anymore, then
mm,
where's the reference at all?
yeah.
It's all just this. That's why Rumi says the cure for the pain is in the pain. And this is
Mm.
another pointing is that the majority of human beings on this planet have no clue what pain is. They are so disassociated from pain, what they
Yeah,
perceive as
yeah,
pain. And
yeah.
that's
It's the
not
resistance. It's the resistance that
judgmental
they're
place.
suffering.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
you're refusing to engage. You're refusing
yeah.
to engage
It's the
anything
resisting
that
is
drives you.
far worse than actually having a look at the pain because it's
That's
the
all.
resistance is a limbo. You're just
But then it's also
constantly, yeah,
resisting the resistance, and then it's
yeah,
resisting that, and then it's resisting
yeah.
that. It's a perpetual stepping away
And
and
so you
disassociation.
just, yeah, and then you're just stuck, or apparently so. It's just that feeling of there's nowhere left to go, and hopefully that's when it, because a lot of people do, um, you know, do have a big awakening when it just gets too much they can't cope with it, like Eckhart Tolle and Byron Katie and those great people that have, been able to point very clearly. Um, and the only reason I started looking was because I was like, this is horrible. This isn't right. I shouldn't feel like this over small things. I didn't even have anything huge in
Totally.
my life, but I was like, this is not right. This push and pull business. I'm not having this. This is just not right. I just knew it wasn't right. Unpacking the dishwasher. I'm resisting, small things like that, resisting unpacking the
Totally.
thoughts in the head about it. And it's like, but this is ridiculous. Why do I have this friction in my body? Why do I have this something not right? This discordance. It just felt like, and it was almost like it was waking me up. It was shaking me awake. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. So yeah,
And that's beautiful
interesting.
too. I mean, and I love your metaphor about how you're like blowing up the you're
There you
feeling
go.
because
The identity.
eventually that pops. So
Yeah,
you're right back here again. Like you're
yeah,
right here
yeah,
again. There
yeah,
is no wrong turn, my friends. That's
yeah,
what I say.
yeah,
Like if you want to bang your head against the wall,
yeah,
eventually something's going to break. So
yeah.
that'll also work.
Yeah, yeah. It is all this
Yeah.
anyway.
There's you
There's
can't screw
nobody
this
any
up.
more awake than somebody else, really, because it's all this. It's all
Oh,
just this. Whether
everyone is
you are
exactly the same.
angry, whether you are whatever you are, it's all just this. So
It's the anger. And pay
yeah,
attention to what wants to distract because
So that's
Anger
why, oh,
isn't the outward action. Anger is resting in that which feels completely impossible to just sit with.
and that's why meeting the anger. So anger is this, and that's why when you meet the anger, there's nothing. having such a having such a good time because it's just, oh my god, it's just not just meet everything, meet everything because there's nothing there. It's
That's it.
all, it's just
That's it.
there's nothing there. Wow,
If we were in a
wow.
spacecraft, and it had no windows and it was traveling at, let's just say, even half the speed of light, if
Mm,
we suddenly woke up in that spacecraft, we would have no sense of moving at all.
mm,
That's what this is like. To meet things where it
yeah.
is, even if there is some kind of dynamic motion, it's still, we're meeting it perfectly here. The present moment
Mm,
is not like frozen. The present
mm,
moment is impossible to pinpoint because it's
mm,
moving at the speed of light. And we
yeah.
become the speed of light. We become the infinite attention of consciousness because that's what we are. Infinite attention
Mm.
of consciousness. And we just realize it. And then we go, oh, it's just a game. And now we get to play. Thank God.
Yes. I can wear this set.
Yes. I mean, and now you live. Now you live all the way. Whatever
Yeah,
that looks like, you
yeah,
just live and you don't
yeah.
have an apology. It's full. You're completely engaged all the time. And here's the best part. We live all the way, and somehow that doesn't cause any pain for anyone else.
Mm,
Somehow
yeah.
it we're all moving together.
Because there's no opposition. There's
Yes.
no opposition. Yeah,
There's no one
yeah,
else. We're all moving
yeah.
together. If it's our atoms are like merged. They're
Yeah.
merged. And when I have this conversation with you, anytime we speak, I feel you. I don't know how to describe it.
Mm,
It's like an energetic, absolutely, I am you. And while you speak,
mm.
it's like this mouth is moving. It's like, yeah, yeah, of course.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's the meeting again. It's the meeting of everything. Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful? I mean, it's
Mm.
poetic,
That we can appear like this, or the same thing, you know.
isn't it? How
Yeah.
fun. How fun.
Yeah.
We're
And that
just
really is the dance, isn't it?
we're just little children sharing snacks, hugging each other, and frolicking, chasing butterflies. That's innocence. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
It can't be judged.
But we can only, if anybody's watching, they're going, why haven't I got that? Why can't I have that?
Yeah.
Because we've all been there, looking
Hmm.
at,
Yeah.
I don't think you had a long seeking journey. You just had quite a lot of suffering at a short point of time, didn't you? Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. There were some definitely some precursors that had no sense of spirituality.
Mm,
Just even being involved in acting, there was a lot of witnessing identity and ego from a distance because
hmm
the nature of approaching a role, you stop. You're not Josh. Now,
hmm
you're Bernard.
You're meeting Bernard,
Right.
the story of Bernard. Yeah.
And the weirdest thing started to become apparent that is when Josh was put on the shelf, so to speak. When Josh was picked back up, there were pieces missing.
Mm, wow.
This is maybe the benefit of meditation, to become so present in that we're not, the system isn't running, it kind of slows down or shuts down for a little bit.
hmm
When it comes back online, pieces
You've
have
dropped
already
a few
returned
big.
to
Yeah. Yeah.
have already returned to emptiness. But
Mm,
this is the best part. That gave such an insight that I didn't realize at the time, is like
mm,
brightly arising here, that all of it just wants to return to infinite potential. And
mm,
it's some strange experience of this perception. We're like grasping it away from its infinite potential by making it a
mm.
permanent fixture,
Yeah. Trying to separate it. Yeah. Trying to hold on to it. Yeah.
which is so strange because
Yeah. Well,
we
it's that
can't,
idea of separation. Got to.
yeah.
I haven't got
And
enough. I've got to.
this is the paradox that we can never describe. It can only really be experienced, is that
Mm,
there's there is an experience of being able to grasp and hold and resist and avoid and all this that, but none of that's actually happening. That's the
Yeah.
shock.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, doesn't exist at all.
Yeah.
But you
Grasping
won't
at
know
air.
that until you know that. And so
Yeah.
with what you do too is we just layer by layer it. If it seems
Yeah.
real, let's go there. That's what
Yeah.
it is to meet people where they
That's
are,
what's
and
showing up. Yeah. Yeah.
that's it. And then okay, let's look at it. Let's go. Let's like play. Let's play with it. Let's be curious. And then maybe it falls away. And then because we're meeting it now where it is.
Mm,
There's no more layers of this meta separation experience. Each layer is actually meeting something where it is, and then meeting something where it is, and then meeting something
mm,
where it is. And before we know it, we've met everything where it is.
mm,
It's beautiful. I mean, come on.
yeah.
This is
Yeah.
this is art.
Yeah. Mm. Nothing here. Um, but yeah, so you can see also on this whole conversation we just had, it's just a display. It's like a firework display.
Unpredictably mysterious all the time. And even if
And
themes and
if I'd come with a big list, we would have been what we would have been doing is trying to direct it, you would have been trying to steer it in different, and it still would have come to this, but you thought you were steering it somewhere.
that's
It's like they think you're driving a car, but it's not
yeah,
attached to
right, right.
anything.
Yeah.
Oh dear, taking life so seriously. I've got to hold it by the steering wheel and get good at life. There's
And
nothing at the end.
what I always point to people too is like you've already mastered that whole realm. By the time you come to speak to me, you've already mastered that aspect.
Mm.
Play in this other way for a little bit and just see what happens.
Yes, exactly. What? Because a lot of people have that fear of actually realizing, or looking at their identity. Because they think, well, if I'm not this, what the hell am I? Oh my god! And how do I navigate in the world? Because they know that, although this is painful and horrible, I know it. I don't know that. It's the not knowing. But I've always been quite okay with not knowing. I've always quite enjoyed that. I've never really been into doing the same thing over and over again.
Hmm.
I was always happy to, I never had a steady, I was always happy to just have a spontaneous sort of lifestyle of not knowing what's happening next. So,
That's a good point.
yeah.
Just be as spontaneous as possible. Notice every um, pattern or habit.
Mm,
Start messing with that. Do something outside
yeah.
of it
Mm,
because that's perfect for you as someone who's pointing to is look, you haven't really needed to apply a lot of consistency. You've enjoyed the unknown, and look at the softness that's emerging from that. There's something there because it's
mm,
not this strict has to be this way.
mm,
When
mm.
it's improv, we don't know, and it's almost like working out a muscle. We just get really good at that.
We don't know anyway, even when we think we're patterning it. And well, I've got this life, I've got a job, but might have not have the job tomorrow. The company might go down. So you
Exactly.
think you've fixed it, but actually you haven't. Nothing is fixed. It's always changing. Yeah, everything all the time, and it's be comfortable with the ever
Relationships,
changing. Yeah.
if we're in a relationship and we have some kind of like future projection, 5 years, what's it going to be like to be together? You're not with this, you're not meeting this.
No, no.
You can only have a relationship ongoing, which means we never know. But
Yeah.
knowing is actually a prison. It's not freedom. It's
Because
not
you're
safety.
trying to fix it in the future, and then it never comes because you're just fixing it over there. Um, and of course, it's never going to look how you fixed it anyway, no matter how much you
Ever.
keep repainting the picture.
It's a lot of people talk about these experiences as kids, like before they before a day that they had a test, one of those like standardized tests, and they're
Mm.
really like really stressing out and anxious about the whole thing. And then they do the test, and the experience of the
Yeah.
test was effort.
Yeah.
And then they go, oh, "What was I so freaked out?" Like that's a big pointer.
Yeah, I have that with accounts, with my with doing accounts. I put them off, I put them off, put them off, and then I do them. I'm like, oh, it took me half an hour. I've been putting them off for months. And I literally had this conversation with my 21-year-old. He's got some big. He's just is at his last year of university, so he said to me, and it's great how you hear them talking and they're saying all of this. He was saying, I've got some momentum now because I've just done some exams and I don't want to stop because the momentum's just going. So if I stop, he said, I know what I'm like. I'll put it off. I put it off and I'll start resisting, and then it'll just build into something. And he said, when you actually look at it, it's nothing.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you're right. I know exactly how he means. It's the resistance again, resisting what is.
But see, that's the best part is if you notice resistance, nothing wrong with it. Be that.
Yeah,
Start at the
meet the
very first
resistance.
notice. Meet the resistance and be that at the very first notice.
Yeah,
And then you won't
yeah.
play the game of like 17 layers of
Resisting
separation.
the resisting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That just keeps building layers of resistance, doesn't it? And it becomes a mountain. It was nothing. When you look, there's nothing there.
It becomes an identity.
Yes, yeah. Something to slay, something to. And that's what I feel a little bit with this whole shadow work. I really emphasize to people, listen, let's not make this into some, people say, I just got to slay my dragons. I go, what dragons? Come on, let's just be careful what we're talking about here. Because, like you say, I mean, if you just keep meeting it, there's nothing there. So,
Well, here you
so
go.
let's not make it a huge thing to meet.
Even if you say there's a dragon there and the dragon's always guarding the gold, you become the dragon. Now it's your
Yeah,
gold.
yeah. But can you see how if we make it into something really big, they don't want to look at it because,
Totally. Totally.
and then, well, I can't realize my true nature till I've got rid of all of this. I've got some more. Because it's so, take people there, they're there, and they're like, oh, and they're there, and they're there, and they're there, and then they go, but
Yeah, yeah. And that's a, I mean,
let's pick it all up. I've got all this to sort out first. That's nice, and I felt that, and that was delicious. But I've got all of this to work on first
how do
before
you
I'm
know?
allowed to have
Yeah.
that. Yes, exactly. This is air.
It's also this is beautiful too because the nature of a requirement, that's a requirement saying I have to do this, this, and this. It's
Yeah,
fundamental. It's saying before I can be right here, right now, I have to
yeah,
do this, this, and then this. And then after that, I can be right here, right now. It's absurd because you're
yeah,
always right here, right now. There's
yeah,
nothing you have to do before being here right now.
yeah, yeah. So it's to bring them back to, okay, so what is actually here now?
That's all it
Always,
is. Always,
always,
always.
always, and forever.
The,
Just
the
this.
details are made up. They don't even exist. You're
Yeah,
going right.
yeah.
How you were talking about
It's like
chopping it down.
Lego. We're making Lego.
Yeah. But that chopping it down too, even if there's this
Yeah,
giant
yeah,
beanstalk, just
yeah.
chop it
Belief. Yeah,
right there at the moment you're
yeah.
chopping it down at the
Who's
base.
suffering? Who is suffering? Who is suffering? Once they've seen, you can't find a sufferer. Once you've taken them, they can't find them. So this,
Mhm.
and then it's like, and then they can from more, in the, feeling like they're more identified. For them to see, and then somebody will say, "Oh, but I can't even think what people say." I can't pick them up. People have things that they say that they're suffering, and it's just to say, well, you remember we couldn't find a sufferer. Like, oh, and I see that that's meeting that truth. You're meeting truth. If you've seen this, if we've sat here, if we've just both experienced the deliciousness of just this for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and you're just like, and whatever. And so when something rears its head, is to meet this, to meet this, to meet this. This is great because it's just confirming. I just say it in different ways. I just keep folding in keep folding in. But what you're meaning is what how you said is to just meet everything. And so I've just done it in all different ways. It's like I've multifaceted the same thing. Just called it all these different things that it dissipates, but it's because you're meeting it. Oh, so funny how it's the same thing, but it's just I've just seen it in lots of different ways, but it's actually always just meeting it, just meeting it. So
Yeah.
I've said, look for the truth, and I've done this, and it's actually just meeting it, just meeting it, just meeting it, just in a different way. Great. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't need to reference this.
Yeah.
This, there is no reference of this.
Mm.
If you have a pond of water, show me water A and water B. It doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Where we divide the water up, let's just chop
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Here's a bucket of
it.
water. Divide this into 8 pieces. And
Yeah.
like immediately somebody's gonna be like, huh? That's it. Okay. That's
That's
it.
it. Yeah. Well, write your story on the water. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's just dissolving before it's formed.
Exactly it.
Oh, yeah. When you meet it, it was never there. Yeah. And that's that creation on that edge where you say, it's that's what it is. It's just showing up everywhere to show you, to confirm to you. It's just this.
Mm. But, in
Oh,
athletics, a long time I had done, a bunch of sports. And the one thing that I had to learn on my own was short memory. Like whatever may have happened is gone. And now
mm,
it's this. And
yeah.
when that happened, all senses of anxiety and performance issues and things like that just dissolved because there
Mm,
was no mistake. It's just
yeah.
this.
Yeah. You're just meeting it again, aren't you? You're, yeah. Meeting the moment, meeting the moment, meeting the moment.
Have a memory like a goldfish.
Yeah. I always like to feel like I've got some sort of tumbleweed in my mind up here. Just tumbleweed.
I
My
love
kids
it.
used to laugh at me. And I go, oh, I just love tumbleweed. Just let the air blow through. Tumbleweed. I'm happy.
I
Oh, give
love,
me that. I don't need to retain any information
I love it.
because I always knew I could access it
Hmm.
somewhere else. I didn't need it up here. I always knew that.
Yeah,
I always knew when I need to know something, I just drop into the body and it's there, the answer.
beautiful.
Mm,
It's like
mm.
when people lose their keys, let's say, or misplace them rather,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
If we enter into a panic, it's like we're
yes,
overlooking keys constantly.
yeah,
Like we're never actually looking where the keys are because we're panicking.
yeah,
But
yeah,
when we
yeah.
don't really like invest too much in that desperation and we just kind of easily settle into it, they seem
Mm.
to just appear.
Yeah. Oh, they're in my hand.
Yeah.
My pocket.
I've seen people have those moments too where they're like
Yeah.
on the phone being like, "Hey, have you seen my cell
Where's
phone?"
my phone? That's how how distracted and separated and jumbled and apparently crazy we can get when we're when we're not meeting the moment, when we're everywhere but the moment. I mean, we can never ever be anywhere other than the moment, but we're imagining we're there, all there. You know,
Yeah.
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 And the magic is we're always here,
Always.
always here,
No way
always here.
around it.
So even if you are going, well, I can't be present, I'm always here. And you are here, even if you think you're not. You cannot be.
And sometimes that triggers a sense of fear for people because then they realize I
Mm.
can't run from this. I can't escape from this.
Oh, really?
But that's a good place to be because what you're
Mm.
coming in contact with is just fundamental
Is this?
energy of trying to survive something that isn't, you can't survive something that there isn't to survive.
Yeah, yeah. Again, it's meeting it. Okay, so let's look here. What is it? What would you have to run away from? Let's meet it. Let's have a look. What is actually here? There's nothing,
Because there
nothing
is a
and
terror.
everything.
You mean it's always this way? I can't get away from it. I can't escape this. It's like,
Wow.
where are you
Oh, is it
gonna
that
go?
because it's a learnt mechanism of um always moving away from things you don't like? Ah, yeah.
And the
mm,
first at first blush for the mind, that can seem like, oh, now I'm in a prison now because
mm.
I can't actually be
I'm
away from
going
it.
to be stuck here with just two eyes looking out. I'm gonna be trapped here forever. Yeah, but that is all just how the mind is narrating what's here, because what's here is just this,
Yeah.
and there's nothing here. It's just air.
Yeah.
There's no black hole with two eyes. There's no
Yeah.
terror. There's no, because that's just layers of thought. What is actually here? Meet it. Well, it's just this. There's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing here.
That's the paradox of sensation too. Terror
Mm,
is absolute joy. If you experience terror so completely and what it
mm,
appears to be is joy, then there is they they there's nothing there.
mm. I mean, I've had that, and I didn't really know what I was doing. So in like really, uh, sort of crisis moments, I always seem to flourish. Like, because it's just, I think it's because now I realize it's just I decide to meet the moment, and I
Mhm.
hadn't realized that's what I was doing. I just sort of go right. It's like I just used to come into my body and drop, and then be able to, orchestrate it. Obviously, there was no me orchestrating, but it was all just happening. But it's in those, in those real crisis moments. Now I can see what I was doing. I always knew I was making the conscious choice to go back. I'll just center myself. But actually, I'm meeting it up. So it's been such a great conversation, because I'm really realizing I just called it different things. Center yourself. I was just using all my life to just center myself. I was meeting the moment.
Mm.
Centering yourself is meeting the moment. Oh my
Yeah.
god,
Yeah.
it's brilliant, isn't it?
It's
It's like
everything.
something's just been peeled off. All those things that I call different things are all the same thing. But of course they are, because there is only one thing, or there is only this. It's just appearing as the many,
Mhm.
centering yourself,
Mm.
looking at thoughts, looking at the truth. What's the truth of the? It's all just meeting. Wow. Wow.
That, even the title of what was it, Nisargadatta's book, I Am That. If you become what seems to be separate, there we are.
Yeah,
That's
you are
meeting.
that. Yeah, I'm that. Is it that I am afterwards? Because I always say that in my head afterwards. I am that I am. I don't know why. I always I always had that on afterwards, and I don't know why.
You could you could put a comma in there. I am that, comma, I am.
Mm.
I am that
And
I
it's
am.
that I am is the sticky ticket, isn't it? Talking of tickets, because I am meeting the moment, or that I am separate. I am tired, hungry, a mess, a disaster, whatever. A separate being with lots to do before I wake up. In fact,
With
you know,
nothing to do. In fact,
no,
stop doing
yeah.
like
And that's
stillness.
what Gandhiji was told by Papaji, wasn't it? It was like, just stop.
Seriously,
She was like,
stop.
what? It can't be that simple.
Just
No.
stop everything. Just
Yeah,
stop.
stop.
Best you can. And
Yeah.
even if there's dynamic aspects of life, there's still a form of stillness that's dynamic, of course, because you're in the midst. You are it. You've
Mm,
met it. And that tends to be very palpably felt.
mm,
If you notice that you're not feeling or there seems to be some dissonance there, meet that.
mm.
And then you'll start to realize
Meeting.
that there's all this reactionary behavior that wants to move away from a sensation.
I'm just, when two people meet, it's so obvious, isn't it? You meet somebody else. You meet. You don't meet. You meet.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zoom meetings have got a whole different thing now. You're just like, wow. Yeah. Meeting the moment. And the moment's meeting. Hmm. Well, this has been fantastic, Josh. Thank you so much. I have no idea how long we've gone over because I took my glasses off. Oh, I've taken up a lot of your time. So I'll
Oh,
just end the recording. I'll end the
there's no
recording.
time.
Well, I know.